right-handed pitching, a 998 OPS. He hit 18 homers at home, 21 away. The stolen bases concern me, only 6. But as I rank them, Springer comes in as my 15th. Now, I told you I had an honorable mention list. So to round out my top 20, I'm not going to go through the stats. I'm just going to give you the names, okay? So there are 5 more, and I think you could easily put these guys into slots on the ranking board. All right, you ready? Giancarlo Stanton, Whit Merrifield, who can also play other positions. Joey Gallo, Eddie Rosario. All of these guys could be ranked, and Chris Bryant. I'm going to put those as my honorable mention 5 to fill out my top 20 because they are in my top 20. But now they're sleepers, and we always love the sleepers, right? So let's give you a few sleepers, not in my top 20, but who I think could have great years. And let's give you 5 of those. Are you ready? Write these names down because I think they could really produce in 2020. And just because they're not in my top 15 doesn't mean they shouldn't be drafted and possibly drafted, but you might can get them at a value. Jorge Soler. Did you look at what Soler did last year? Because if you didn't, you need to. He hit 48 homers, 117 RBIs, and scored 95 runs for the Kansas City Royals. How old is he? 27? Are you kidding me? So, Soler certainly on my sleeper list for 2020 outfielders. Now, he's not my only sleeper. Okay, and there are other solid players, okay? I mean, the Michael Brantleys of the world. Not on my top 20 list, but certainly a solid outfielder. Not on my sleeper list because you know what you're getting with Brantley. But a solid fantasy option, no doubt. We could have this discussion all day. That's why this is a longer show today. Are you loving it? I'm not giving you just your typical 30 minutes. We're digging deep. Another sleeper. Are you ready? Victor Robles. I like Victor Robles this year. I think it could be a great breakout for him. Max Kepler, who comes off just an incredible season in 2019, his best season to date, when he hit 36 homers, 90 RBIs, scored 98 runs. He's not going to steal you bases, but he oftentimes leads off for the Twins. Now they've added Donaldson to that lineup, just yet another bat. I've got to mention Ozuna. I'm going to talk about him in just a couple minutes, signed by the Braves this week. I think he's a sleeper, if you will. Can't believe I'm saying Ozuna a sleeper, but he's certainly not in my top 15. So now let's really dig deep. And if we go way down the list, who's someone, Arnie, that could really perform this year? Willie Calhoun. I think Calhoun gets the opportunity. I think Calhoun will be playing a lot in Texas. And remember, last I heard, balls fly out of Texas. I really like Willie Calhoun. The list goes on. Hunter Renfroe could have a big year in Toronto. Joe Adele could bust out in Anaheim. I like the potential there as a late-round pick, Joe Adele. Jose Martinez for Toronto, now that he's been traded over from the National League to the American League, where he will DH. And there's no doubt Jose Martinez can hit the baseball. These are some of my sleeper picks. And finally, oft-injured Gregory Polanco. Keep your eye on Polanco. Shoulder problems last year. Let's assume he's over those injuries. Playing in Pittsburgh. He's going to be playing every day. That kid, he's still young. He can hit. These are my outfield picks for 2020. You've got yours. I've got mine. I've done my research. Let's rank them real quick. Trout, Acuna, Bellinger, Judge, Yelich, Soto, Betts, Martinez, Blackmon, Harper, Marte, Jordan Alvarez, Ketel Marte, Austin Meadows, George Springer, my top 15. My 5 honorable mentions: Giancarlo Stanton, Whit Merrifield, Gallo, Rosario, Chris Bryant, and then my sleepers I just went over, including but not limited to Jorge Soler, Robles, Kepler, Ozuna. These are outfielders that I think are worthy of drafting and at the appropriate stages. So let's talk about some news of the day and some recent, maybe not so significant, but in some ways significant to the players. What's been going on in the baseball world in the last 24 hours?
But before we do that, how about that chat room this morning? You guys are incredible, okay? And so an active chat room makes for a very happy podcaster and a more energetic podcaster. Are you into that? Willie Calhoun, you got to like that pick, right? 30 homers, 15 stolen bases. Good morning, guest Theodore. Andrea, Corona, Dale, Doug Boyle, Lenny, Kevin Hastings, Taco, putting on the Ritz, Taco, Timothy Hooker, and then we got some guests, Jonathan, Magdalena, Stevie, Winifred, Phil Chaplin's been in the chat room this morning. It's good to see all of you guys. Wow. And just think, baseball season hasn't even started yet. But that's a rundown of outfielders. So what's going on with maybe some pickups and some deliveries?
Let's talk a little, go around the league. Let's see what's going on kind of segment. How about that? So Michael Kopech, I have talked about on this network, on this show, my high expectations for the White Sox this year. Remember, they had a 20-game under 500 record last year. I think they could win that division. I think they are certainly a playoff team, or at least have that potential. Michael Kopech, last year missed the season. It looks like from reports out of the Charlotte Observer this morning, he will be starting the season at AAA Charlotte. That's also reported in the Chicago Sun-Times as well. Kopech is quoted as saying, I assume that's kind of what everyone is thinking, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't probably thinking the same thing. So starting the year in Charlotte, good for me. I get to go to Charlotte and watch him play. All right, I'm kind of excited about that. Having TJ surgery last year, 2 years ago. He had the TJ surgery, if you remember, late in the season in 2018, missed all of last year. He was able to throw a couple of instructional league games towards the end of 2019. The White Sox are not going to push him. I mean, he is an ace in waiting. They have a legitimate 5-man rotation in Giolito, Dallas Keuchel, Reynaldo Lopez, Dylan Cease, and Gio Gonzalez to open the season. Look for Kopech mid-season. Look for if any of those 5 that I've just named do not live up to potential or expectations, to come out of the rotation and Kopech to slide in. He's not going to be in the bullpen, guys. Michael Kopech is going to be in that rotation, and in my opinion, he will be the ace of that rotation at some point, barring some setback or some injury as we get into 2019. And that's another reason why I think the White Sox are going to be such a strong team. That starting pitching is really good. And I have gone on and on about their bats, the Eloy Jimenez's, the Luis Roberts, all these young bats. White Sox, look out, Kopech will be back in 2020. Sam Travis, formerly of the Red Sox, currently of the Rangers, he's been signed to a minor league deal. Well, he has now been extended an invite to spring training by the Rangers. He plays both first base and outfield. Texas is looking at him primarily as a first baseman. Now, I don't know how fantasy relevant Travis would be, and he received a lot of accolades while he was in the minor leagues with the Red Sox. It just never really happened. Of course, he's a right-handed hitter, not on the 40-man roster. he'll be given an opportunity to compete for the first base or outfield job during spring training. He could, I guess, best case scenario at this point, work his way into a platoon with Ronald Guzman. He would be on this, the weak side, if you will, the lesser side of that platoon. I don't really see Travis fantasy relevant in 2020, but he is somebody playing in Texas to keep your eye on during spring training. Brock Holt, formerly again of the Red Sox. There's two former Red Sox. He's drawing interest from the Blue Jays. Now, we know Brock Holt can play all over the diamond. He's a left-handed bat. He adds some stability and some depth. He's potentially a 300 hitter, and so Toronto is taking a look at him. We'll see if the Blue Jays add him. I don't see Holt being a starter in Toronto. There's way too much youth, and they are certainly going to play those young players, the Kevin Biggios, the Bo Bichettes, the Vladimir Guerreros. He, at best, is probably a utility guy. How much of a role, I don't know. But at this point, Toronto is interested, and we'll see if Brock Holt lands north of the border. And how about Yoenis Cespedes and his ankle? Well, reports are out that he will be ready to hit at the start of spring training. That is reported in the Bergen Record. Cespedes is making progress, running, tracking fly balls. It's not clear yet if he will be fully ready to go by the start of the regular season, but being ready to hit at the start of spring training is a big plus. Now, remember, not only is he coming off ankle injury, he didn't play at all last year. He's 34 years old. In fact, he's played just a total of 119 games over the last 3 seasons combined. He missed all of 2019, first due to repair from heel surgeries and then due to the wild boar-related ankle fracture. But he is planning to start hitting at the beginning of spring training. He's ramping up. He's running and tracking fly balls. That is progress. I tell you, I'm taking a flyer on Yoenis Cespedes if he's available late in draft rounds. The power and the upside that he brings, I just think, with the Metropolitans, with a lot to prove, I think these teams that have been cited or talked about in this cheating scandal, I think they're coming out with chips on their shoulder. And the Mets, of course, lost their manager. I just believe, look out, New York, I believe you're going to start hearing the news that Cespedes is going to be ready to play in 2020. Luis Avilian, left-handed pitcher, relief pitcher, formerly of the Mets, signed a minor league deal yesterday with the New York Yankees. He will get an invite to big league camp. The veteran lefty owns a career 3.28 ERA over 8 big league seasons. The Yankees simply need to add looking to add depth, left-handed depth. As a long man in that bullpen, Avilian will get the call to spring training. Last year, not a good year for the Metropolitans, a 5.06 ERA across 32 innings. But we'll see what the Yankees may find in him this spring down in Tampa. Alex Gordon. Josh Gordon plays football. Alex Gordon signed a 1-year deal with Kansas City, re-upping with the Royals for $4 million. He gets that 1-year deal. Really, there were probably no other suitors. He's not much of a fantasy player. He does have a few streaks in him. He may be someone you pick up off waivers to play for a week, depending on who the Royals are playing with. Last year, he started off hot, remember? He had a great start to his season, but he's 35 years old. Last year posted a 741 OPS. That was his highest mark since 2015. He will be the opening day left fielder. He may have a short leash, but he will get the opportunity. And I've talked about so many times in fantasy, the biggest key is opportunity. So he gets that. He's back in the fold, the 35-year-old, back with the Royals for at least one more year. And what are the Phillies trying to do? Become the 2015, 2016 Pirates. You know, they've already got Andrew McCutchen. They've got Josh Harrison. Yesterday, they go out